Now to Land Life, where we take a look at the life and work of people in rural Australia. Today, Landline's Patrick Martin takes us to the Opal capital of Coober Pedy in South Australia to meet a young prospector with a serious case of opal fever.
Quite often I dream about opal. And it's not every night, but when you do it, it's pretty exciting. And then you just try and remember whereabouts that dream was, and then you go and either drill or dig in that spot. Every day you wake up, there's a new chance you can find $1 million out in the opal fields. My dream is to strike it rich up here. And that's what the lure is, and that's what's brought people from all over the world, over 100 years, to this isolated place of Coober Pedy. Morning, John.
How you going, mate?
Good, how are you?
How's things?
Yeah, good. Not too bad.
Yeah, I've just been looking at a bit of opal.
Beautiful. That's what we're going to find.
I know.
Hopefully.
We'll come in and have a cup of coffee and we'll talk about the plan.
All right, sounds good.
Well, I've finished with the bulldozer out there.
Yep.
I've cleaned it all up for you. It's up to you now to get in there with the excavator and start digging. And
Hopefully it's loaded with opal.
it will be, don't worry. Good luck.
All right.
And I'll be out there to check on you.
I love driving through all the old opal fields. You know, there was millions and millions and millions found in these areas, but there's also millions and millions spent trying to find those $1 million worth of opal. So you see all the hard work of so many men and women out there over the 100 years Coober Pedy's been going for, and that gives you inspiration every day, you know, and it's going to be my turn one day. A lot of miners say that the fields are worked out, so it is difficult for, you know, new miners to come in and strike it. You've got to be a bit creative, and you've got to try and work out if there was any opal left by the old miners in the old fields. But it is very, very difficult and hard at times. You know, you're sort of working on the edges of all these old fields, just trying to find the scraps. There's not many people out where I'm working. You know, you might see a few miners travelling on the road going up to, you know, their opal fields, but I might see, you know, if I'm lucky, 1 or 2 people a week out there, so it is very isolated. I've got a serious case of opal fever. I love it more than anything. I love digging it out, I love looking at it, I love cleaning it, I love polishing it all up, I love being around it, and most importantly, I love mining it. It's just amazing when you're, you know, working day after day, month after month, you know, even could be a year. And every day you're digging around in the sandstone and it's all bland and it's not that interesting. And then finally you come across this beautiful seam of crystal opal, and that feeling is like nothing else. You just feel like you're floating. The feeling of this big rush, it's the best feeling you can get. When all that hard work pays off, you know, you see it in your hands, handfuls of opal, it's like nothing else. So I first started opal mining about 6 or 7 years ago. I came up here just scratching around with a pick and a shovel, and now I've progressed to a couple of big excavators and working with John Dunstan, the Roger Federer of opal mining.
I started opal mining when I was still going to school, way back in 64, 65. I got my own pick and shovel, and I sank a shaft about 9-10 foot deep with a 5-gallon bucket and a rope, and I found 120 pounds in the pound days. You know, I felt rich. From that day onwards, I always wanted to be an opal miner. My father wanted me to be a mechanic. I said, Dad, I don't want to be a mechanic. I want to be an opal miner, just like you. No, he said, there's no future in opal mining. So anyway, we had a lot of arguments, but eventually I won. And I left school when I was still 14 to go opal mining full time. So I've spent the last 51 years here in Coober Pedy, and I've seen a lot of changes.
Your map will tell you it's 500 miles nor-northwest of Adelaide. Your sensors will tell you it's 1,000 miles from nowhere.
You know, in the 70s and 80s, she was a wild town, believe me. A lot of times we had to sleep on our claims with loaded guns. And that's not bullshit, that's true. A few times that I've been out on the field guarding my claim, if I see a car coming at 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning, I'm going to let a volley of shots go over their heads. And I have done. I've done 53 years of mining. And I'm still out there looking. And I love it. And especially when you meet a nice young fella like Justin, he sort of motivates me a bit now. I'm excited about these bloody faults in the ground here. It's unreal. Where we're working at the moment, I worked there back in 2011 and I found a couple of $100,000 there. But we found it on these faults in the ground, like a slip. We call them slips. And the moisture's run down those slips, and that's where it makes the opal. So one of them is going to have opal. I got a really good feeling about it. So the Godfather and the Rookie are working together now, okay?
This is good. All right.
All right.
This is it.
And there's still plenty more out here. A lot of people say that only 5% of the opal's mined in this 5,000 square kilometres of opal fields out here. So there's still a chance for anyone. There's a lot of opal out there, but there's a lot of dirt in between. There's not really any books or courses you can do to become an opal miner. You've just got to understand from the old timers what certain fields and characteristics they had to sort of attract opal in certain parts of the ground.
I want to gladly pass on my knowledge because I'm getting over the hill, right? I'm 67 now, so I don't know how many years I've got left for mining, but hopefully I've got another 10. All right, lead the way. You go and show me where this opal is. All right. I love getting dusty and dirty and digging out opal and dreaming about opal. That's my life, and I'm never going to change. Oh, good. I got one here, but it's chalky potch.
Oh, it is draining when you're not finding opal, and that's most of the time. You know, if you found it every day, it wouldn't be worth what it's worth.
Justin, when we come up, you're going to have to take this side down a bit, get back to the solid ground.
Some of the conditions that you experience throughout the year out in the opal field could be, 53 degrees in the shade. You know, there's dangers and risks of, snakes and things that want to have a piece of you.
I reckon by this time next week, when we hit some of those slips there, we'll be on it. There's no guarantee when you're going to make a fine. You know, you could mine for a year or 2 years without getting a pay. So what do you do in the meantime? So that's the tough thing. Lucky for myself and Justin, we've got a business behind us.
When I'm not in Coober Pedy, I'm usually in Harndorf in the Adelaide Hills, which is a nice little place, and I've got a business there, so I'm usually fixing cuckoo clocks or, selling new cuckoo clocks from Germany that I import.
We got this clock in this morning for you to have a look at, I believe.
When I'm back in Harndorf, working on little cuckoo clocks and repairing clocks, you're working with tiny little screwdrivers and tiniest little tools, fixing things, and then the spectrum of coming back up to Coober Pedy and, working with 2-inch, spanners and working on heavy earth-moving equipment, it's sort of fun. You get the best of both worlds. I'm quite fortunate because I've, got a business that's behind me. So, if you could have some sort of, other means of income, that's the best way to be an opal miner because you're not struggling day to day.
If I'm not out opal mining, I'm here running this business. So that's a $900 stone. It's just my wife and I. Perfect partnership. She makes the money in the shop and I spend it out there mining. But that's going to change. It's going to change. Don't worry about that. Justin and I are going to find a cracker of a parcel soon. When I first met Justin, I thought he was a nice young man, very keen, and it was a privilege to meet somebody like that. Now that he's doing a bit of mining with us, we've given him one of our dugouts to live in. We had a spare one, so he's lived there next door to us. And he comes to eat with us every night, so he's our adopted son.
Yeah, first meeting John, he was just offering bits of advice along the way, and he still does, but now we're working together.
When you're out there looking every day, you got a chance.
It's a privilege to work with someone that's had a lifetime of opal mining experience.
Well, let's hope we're going to find a big one together, eh?
Yeah, I reckon.
And the lure for me was to find huge amounts of opal, millions of dollars worth. And over time, I've grown to just love the place and love the people that live here.
So let's go home and have a good feed and
Recharge for tomorrow.
we'll talk about how we're going to dig this opal out.
All right.